We're the Meat Dudes, meat obsessed, Wagyu focused, source driven, barbecue influenced. I'm Evan.
I am Tyler.
Awesome, man. So exciting this week. We are getting into the big topic, is Wagyu beef a marketing scam?
Dun, dun, dun.
Damn, and then I'm going to have you go and grab an amazing Bavette. We're going to talk about the Bavette. You got to understand your cut. We're going to talk about what you eat this week and how much my daughter ate.
She's an animal.
She's a meat beast right now. And then we got a really good hot take that's a little bit of a flex, but I really believe this hot take, and I think it might make a few people mad. And we actually finished this whole conversation with an amazing interview with Andrew Shirley out of River Valley Wagyu in Chehalis, Washington, man. So stick around for that.
Such a nice dude.
That guy's a great dude. Grass-fed Wagyu beef, grass-fed full-blood Wagyu beef. It looks amazing. So he gave us some really good tips about Wagyu fat. He is all into it, about the health benefits. So
it's one of our only dudes that has really come with concrete evidence and studies of the nutritional aspects of Wagyu.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
dope.
It's pretty cool, man. You got to really stick around and listen to that whole thing. So with that, man, let's jump into our first topic.
Let's go.
All right, Chef Tyler, topic number 1 here. Let's kick it off. Is Wagyu beef a marketing scam?
100%, %.
I mean, obviously it's not. Like Wagyu beef is not. It's all about genetics. But I absolutely understand why a lot of people think that it's a marketing scam, right?
I did it too.
I mean, you go into a lot of restaurants, Wagyu's kind of tossed around on menus, Wagyu burgers, Wagyu hot dogs, which personally, I don't like the Wagyu hot dog. Man, I don't know. It's just, it's kind of degrading.
What does our guy say?
Oh man, he said, are the lips and the asshole of a
Different
Wagyu
on
hot
a
dog
Wagyu cow.
different on a cow? You know, which has some truth to it, man. You know, like a hot dog's a hot dog. We know. Even if you're using full blood Wagyu, it's still
Whatever,
a hot dog. So
We know what happens with a hot dog.
you know, it degrades the brand a little bit. So
I agree with that.
I understand it, but you know, the truth is there's very little regulation, you know, around Wagyu and what it can be called, but now at least we have the authentic Wagyu stamp brought to you by the American Wagyu Association and the USDA. So that's going to give us a lot more clarity. But man, I feel like with all these fast food restaurants saying they've got Wagyu burgers, and you go into a restaurant and you ask the server and they have no idea where any of this Wagyu comes from, I feel like the lines kind of get blurred really fast.
Sure.
So this conversation spurred because our buddy Dave Kearns,
Our guy.
our dude, man, who's in the industry, right?
Yeah, he used to be a chef.
Used to be a chef, worked for Maker's Mark, so he understands marketing, he understands food, he understands beverage, he understands the industry.
Yeah.
So he came in the other week.
He might even be labeled as an OG.
A little bit of an OG, yeah. It was actually just a few days ago he came in. So we were cooking up this full-blood Wagyu ribeye that was sent to us by Sheila from Vermont Wagyu, which was just outstanding.
It was beautiful.
Looked incredible. So you cooked that thing up. We're starting to taste it. He walks in. I hear you from the kitchen. You say, "Hey, Dave, try this Wagyu beef." And he was like, "Okay." So he tries it up, and he's like, "Dang, this is really good." And he goes, "Generally, I don't really like Wagyu." And I heard that from the office, and I was like, "Dave, what's up, man? Like, get over here. And I go, why don't you like Wagyu?" And he's like, "I don't know. I just think it's kind of a marketing scam." Like, dude, so that guy who...
So obviously he has not listened to anything.
he's not that good of a buddy, right? He
I'm not giving him a meat dude's shirt, bro.
Yeah, he's not part of the meat
Not
fam
listening
yet.
to the fucking podcast. Come on.
Man,
Come on.
you know, but a guy like that who thinks it's a marketing scam, like I said, he's been in and out of restaurants. He sees it. You know, the story was that he had a big group outing, and they all wanted to order something from a restaurant. They were ordering the chicken and the pork, and then they're like, "Oh, order that Wagyu beef dish." And he even said, "Don't order it. It's not going to be as good as you think." And it was more expensive. So they order it. It wasn't as good as they thought, and it was more expensive. And he was like, "See, look, it's kind of like in a lot of people's minds.
Told ya.
It's a way for restaurants to raise the price and not, give the product that they're saying."
Well, no, he might not be wrong.
That's
in
what I'm
some
saying.
of those instances, right?
I think there is some of that out there.
Definitely is.
Yeah, and that's the troubling thing.
It almost goes along with the same question of when I asked the American Wagyu Association about, is there liars out there?
Mm-hmm.
Are there people out there saying that they're raising Wagyu beef and it's like 2%?
Yeah.
Like, right. So there's regulations, but also you can say, if you find that 2% Wagyu beef and you put it on your menu, you can be like, oh, I got Wagyu beef. Like, there's a reason it sucks, because it sucks.
Is it Wagyu? Is it technically Wagyu? But that's where we keep saying the lines kind of get blurred, right? Mm-hmm. And we're spoiled because when you walk into our restaurant, Lady J, you look at this butcher shop and there is just amazingly beautiful Wagyu beef in the case. So when we say we have a Wagyu burger that we house grind and, and butcher, it's a lot easier for people to go, oh yeah, man, like that's good. And it's amazing.
I custom cut.
Yes.
Custom grind, and
Yes.
I know exactly where this beef comes from.
Exactly, man. So
Have met the farmers, have shaken their hands. Like, these are our friends, right?
dude,
They're not lying to us.
I know. So like that's why it sucks because it's not a scam. So like the people who are doing it right and who execute it right, actually do the Wagyu industry a favor by giving you something that you're giving you something quality, something that you're paying for. But it's the people that throw on a 5% Wagyu beef burger onto the menu, claim it's Wagyu, smother it with a bunch of shit, and nobody could really tell the difference.
This is going to lead into is there going to be such thing as a commodity Wagyu industry?
I know, dude. That's the fear.
That's a tough one.
I mean, every single rancher that we talk to is so passionate and about raising the best quality beef and giving their animals the best life. And that's not going to be the case for a lot. Like, I mean, if you're a fast food chain and you need tens of thousands of pounds a week, I mean, that's really hard to do. These Wagyu kind of takes a long time to do that. So
certainly does.
So is the fast food chains, are they using a super low percentage? I mean, it seems to me that you can't really sell a burger for $6, $7, $8 fast food.
How do we find out? How do I become a mole? And go into the fast food chains and be like, oh.
We need to get some raw beef and we need to send it to American Wagyu Association. They'll have it tested.
That's a good idea.
So we need to find somebody who works at one of these restaurants. Get in there. I got an 18-year-old, man. I'll send him in.
I'll handle it.
Just sneak in there, steal some beef, send it in, get it tested.
Where's going to be my first spot?
Dude, start to take down these myths and these scams. But I just thought it was really interesting. I think this is a conversation that we got to keep having because so many people out there do feel like they get scammed. I mean, if you go to a place and you see, I got a New York strip for $45 on the menu and a Wagyu New York for $90 on the menu, I mean, and you eat the Wagyu one and it's, it's over-seasoned or under-seasoned or whatever.
Then you're talking shit about Wagyu.
And you don't like Wagyu, yeah. But
wrong.
But but to say that it's a marketing scam is wrong. Like that's not. I'm like, Dave, that's not correct. And he kept pushing back. I mean, he kept saying, "Oh, you're propaganda," and like giving me shit, like trying to bust my balls. But I'm like, dude, literally, it's about the genetics. So it's about knowing where it comes from. That's the number one thing, and that's why I'm excited for that authentic Wagyu stamp to like show us, hey, man, it comes from this farm. At least, when you go to a restaurant, at least the GM or the floor manager can tell the servers like, yo, this is low prime, high prime, however you want to grade it, and it's from this actual farm. And when you hear that as a consumer, you're like, oh, that's cool. Where's that farm at? Oh, that's in Eastern Washington. That's in Northern California. You at least can put a face to it, Right. So I think that has got to help. But it's the people, I mean, I see it everywhere. My buddy was in Hawaii, and he's like, oh, this is I got a Wagyu burger. And it's just this huge fucking burger with, like, just pineapple and just all this shit. It's just dripping, oozing all over the place.
What island was he on?
I don't even know, man.
Because I did just watch
he emailed him, though.
Gordon Ramsay
episode.
He's got that new travel show, kind of like
Anthony.
And he was on Big Island. And up in Waimea, it's all farmland up there.
Uh-huh.
it's wild. It's like Hawaiian cowboys.
Yeah.
And they're raising Wagyu up there.
They do raise Wagyu up there. Yeah. Yeah. But it was funny because my buddy, he sent it on the group chat. He's like, hey, check this out. I'm eating a big Wagyu burger. And I was like, what farm did it come from? And he's like, I don't know. And he goes, but I'm going to email him. So he emailed him. I don't think he heard anything back. But like, I thought that was dope. I'm like, yeah, email him, man. Let's see.
Certified Hawaiian beef.
Like, well, I mean, just the more transparency we can get, the better. And then the more education out there, the more people that don't fuck it up for the Wagyu industry, obviously the better. Because, you know, if I go to a fast food chain and I get a Wagyu burger and
get a Kobe burger,
right? It tastes like, the Kobe burger, dude. That's the other thing. That's the other thing, man. We talk about that a lot, but that's the other thing is the Kobe burger,
that's
dude.
Such bullshit.
Dude, you're talking about $150 fucking burger, man. Yeah. Like that's not a thing. You're not having a fucking Kobe burger. But either way,
we should change our Thursday night Wagyu burger to Kobe burger.
To Kobe burger. Hey. God, that would be us.
Small business.
That's
win.
A marketing scam, dude. See, that's the marketing scam, man.
That is the marketing scam.
That's the shit. But I think a lot of those people who have Kobe burgers on the menu, they don't know the difference. They think it's from Japan and it's Wagyu and it's the same fucking thing, right? Yeah. They don't even know that. They're just like, it's the same thing. So, no, it's not. All right. I do think it's about the execution, though. I think it's about the execution. Like when you get a burger here, it's amazing. It's like house ground, amazingly smoked. You can see the case. So all of that comes into the consumer's mind and goes, yeah, these guys are doing it right. But if I go down the street and get a Wagyu burger and nobody knows where it's from and the servers have no idea, then you kind of feel like you're getting scammed, right?
We ordered Wagyu ground beef from said X meat company.
Right? Well, I mean, so if I went to a restaurant and someone said, hey, try this wine, it's going to be $45 a glass. You're like, where's it from? It'd be like, oh, it's from France. You're like, okay. But if I'm going to have a $45 glass of wine, maybe I want to know where.
It's on the southern slope of the Rhone Valley. Yeah. It's been a great year because it gets dark at 5:30 and blah blah blah.
Dude,
right?
that's
what we can say.
Right? See, we're like Wagyu Sommeliers, you know. That's a new job, bro. That's a hot take.
Wag
Soms, baby. We need to be Wag Soms, man. I mean, we fucking are, dude. When somebody goes out there, like, it's so funny. Like, I'll be sitting in the office doing something, and somebody goes up to the meat case, and, you know, one of our employees comes in and goes, hey, these guys have questions that are a little above my pay grade, and I'll walk out there, and we'll just fucking slam them with the Wagyu facts, man. True. You know, I love it when people push back a little bit, too, and I can just point. I'm like, it's from that farm right there. Exactly. Actually, it's Paul Klingeman, you know, he raised it, you know? Yep, exactly. And they're like, oh, fuck, dude. You guys know what you're talking about. But maybe we do need to have more Wag Soms. Let's have some Wag Soms. I think
certified motherfucker.
Dude, we are for hire. Anybody out there listening? We're for hire. Bring us into your nice restaurant. We'll be your Wag Soms.
Come taste your Wagyu beef and tell you if you got bullshit.
We'll be like, go to table 4
you got bullshit.
And talk to the father at table 4 who ordered the Wagyu New York and tell him exactly where it's from.
So you ordered that mid-well. I don't know.
But that's what the wine industry has done so well, you know. Is that they've marketed it so well. They have sommeliers. They have the education behind it. Absolutely. It's believable. With Wagyu, it's so new. It's just not there yet. You know, that's what we're trying to do. You know, American Wagyu Association's trying to do it.
I like this.
Yeah,
Think
man.
About our buddy Chris Tangi, certified master
som, dude. I mean, I'd love to be a master Wagyu som.
Fuck me too.
Yeah, dude. Maybe we should start that up, dude.
Yeah.
But I think that. Honestly, that would help, having somebody in your restaurant that knows about Wagyu, so you don't just say, oh, yeah, it's Wagyu, all right?
You know what? You're not wrong. I think that's... And yes, on the som part, but that just goes with everything that we're trying to do. Is just educate everybody. Educate our listeners. Yep. Educate our clientele. Educate our meat buyers on the reality of what this is and what you're buying and the history of it.
What you're paying for.
It's legitimate.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking scam.
Yeah, exactly. And to go even more on top of that, like with wine, if you're not a big wine connoisseur, you don't need to have a $45 glass of wine. You might not be able to enjoy it. So if you have only eaten supermarket beef and have never explored that, maybe you shouldn't start off with a full blood. Maybe you should try a
wholeheartedly agree.
an F1 cross.
You're just gonna be like, what in the world?
You must have to
blow your mind.
Grow into it a little bit, just and that way you're not spending $90 on a steak. You might be spending 15. Hey, you know what? I could spend $15 on a glass of wine and maybe try to understand it a little bit instead of spending that $45 where it's super high end and I really need to understand the different varietals and where it's from on the river and the season. So man, yeah. So I think we just came up with the solution, man. Wagyu Soms. All right, man. I think we crushed this segment. Let's get on to the next one. If you've been listening to us for a minute, you know how serious we are about sourcing. We don't mess around when it comes to meat, who raised it, how it lived, and how it got to your plate. And that's why we work with Preservation Meat Collective. Preservation isn't your typical meat distributor. They're a tight-knit, values-driven crew based right here in the Northwest, and their entire mission is about building real relationships between ethical farmers and the folks who cook their meat. They work directly with the network of small-scale producers who prioritize animal welfare, regenerative practices, and a transparency at every step. And honestly, we would not be the meat dudes without these guys.
Absolutely.
So Preservation makes it easy for chefs, butchers, and meat lovers like us to access incredible product from people we'd never find on our own. It's not just distribution, it's curation, like legit. They know so much about every single farm, and this makes me so happy that they bring that to us.
100%.
When we get our meat from Preservation, we know the story behind it, and we're proud to serve it. So whether you're a rancher or you're sourcing for your restaurant, your butcher shop, or just a home cook who wants to know what's up, check out Preservation Meat Collective. They care about the stuff we care about, and that's why they're in our kitchen, and that's why they're on this podcast.
Absolutely, dude. And honestly, we've been to the ranches that they use.
They set it up for us.
It's legitimate, come with us. It's a big family organization, and that's what this industry is all about when it comes down to it.
Absolutely, man. They are a legacy of quality. So go to preservemeat.com or preservation_meat_collective to learn more. Okay, Chef Tyler, know your cut, the Bavette. So you got a Bavette right here, right?
I do.
And that's a Wagyu Bavette?
This is a purebred Wagyu Bavette.
Ooh, nice, man. So, what do we need to know about the Bavette? Where does it come from on the cow?
All right, so these are the gems, right? These are some of our favorites, the abdominal cuts. Right?
Yeah.
You got your skirts and flanks and Bavette.
Yes.
Right, so this is on the other end sirloin area. It's otherwise known as flap meat.
Flap meat.
Or bib.
Bib, yep, I've seen the bib, yeah.
That's the France version. So as you can see, this one, I haven't cleaned this up at all yet. So I'm going to clean silver skin off and blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
I'm going to portion it and probably put it in the case. But this is the original cut for steak frites.
Yes.
When you're in France, right?
Yep.
The Bavette or the bib.
The bib.
Otherwise known as flap meat. It's got a few different names. Funny enough, I was talking to Mark Fuller on the phone the other day, and he's just like, he's trying to do some new stuff at New Luck Toy.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, what do you call that? Chuck flap? And he's like, flap meat? And I was like, well, yeah, it's chuck tail flap. And he called his meat guy, and he's like, oh, I'm just gonna get Bavette. It's flap meat. I'm like, no, dude, that is flap meat. You're wrong.
Yeah.
It's not chuck flap tail.
Yeah.
It's totally different thing, dude.
Man.
Opposite end of the spectrum too, right?
Dude, we got to do a whole podcast on the different names of all the different cuts, man. Because
that'd be interesting.
That because it's all over. I mean, even when we put something online, there's people from the East Coast that are like, "That's not correct." I'm like, "Well, it's what we call it, and we sell pounds of it, so it is correct."
Like the guy that rancher, we were at the
bro,
the bar auction.
Oh man, old school.
That's a blade steak. It's a fucking
old school butcher, dude.
Such a dick, man.
We're like, he's like, that cut doesn't exist. We're like, well, we sell like
call it that in fucking kids these days.
Dude, I'm like, we sell like 100 pounds a month, so it does exist, and we sell it in our butcher shop, sir.
Suck on that, Zabaton.
Okay.
All right, so the Bavette.
I digress.
We digress. Suck on that, Zabaton.
All right.
So these are the best for, hot super grillers.
Yep.
Carne asada, steak freeze, of course.
So you're just going to cut that into little steaks, right?
Yeah, you can see how this muscle structure runs this way.
Well,
right?
explain it for the people just listening. So this is like a half moon shape almost.
Yeah. I mean,
it kind of looks like that.
It looks like a big old flap of meat.
It looks like, it looks like a big old skirt. Looks like a big, thick skirt to me.
It really does, and that's how it eats, too.
Yeah.
So it's also really tender when you treat it the way it's supposed to be treated, right? So,
dude,
everybody's going to fuck it up. Everybody's going to fuck a flank up, a skirt up, a bottom
Why
up
is that?
if they cut it wrong.
Oh, if you cut it wrong,
right?
yes.
Because these long muscle striations.
Yep.
The fibers that run this way.
Yep.
So you have to cut straight down against the grain.
Against the grain.
That, I'm gonna fan it out bullshit.
So you're telling me the thin, weird, like coming down at like 45-degree angle.
Yeah, I don't
cut?
like that, dude. I've never liked that.
No, dude, that's like it's a Salt Bay does that, dude.
Stupid.
Yeah, man. No, it's like just it's all for show.
So I'm gonna clean this guy up and I'm gonna portion it into. I don't know. This is a sizable.
It's a pretty big Bavette. What do you think that is, about 2 feet?
No, this is a 5-pounder, dude.
Yeah, I guess pounds would be better
this
than feet.
This came off a pretty large animal.
I guess people would probably recognize pounds more. I'm trying to give people the listeners a fucking.
It's like, you see the size of that
2 feet. I'm trying to give them a visual, bro.
Like a fisherman's story right there, dude.
This thing was 2 fucking feet.
See the size of this fucking thing. We digress.
We're back.
We're gonna clean this all up. I'll listen to you.
Yep.
And this fat right here is that really good, soft, melty fat.
Yes, man.
It's not that hard, like fat cap, like say on a picanha or a New York strip, right? Which is still edible and lovely.
You gotta render it, though.
But this one's it's almost gonna be like that intermuscular fat. Right?
That's the hardest thing for me, man. When I look at skirts and bavettes, when I take one home and it's not cleaned, I'm like, okay, I know I got to take the silver skin off, but what fat do I leave on and what fat do I take off?
That's a big question too, because in the classes, the one-on-one butcher classes that I've taught, also we do skirts in those because that's kind of like a beginner's. I'm gonna buy a whole skirt. I'm gonna learn how to clean it myself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great question. So, this stuff, yummy.
So that stuff. So what is that stuff to the listeners? Bubblegum fat.
I like to call it bubblegum fat.
Yeah,
dude.
I know
like
you do.
That's my term.
Yeah.
Because if I were to tear it out of there and I'd squish it and chew on it, it'd be like almost like the texture of soft bubblegum. Right?
Yeah.
So that bubblegum fat melts into your meat as you're grilling and doing all that stuff.
And there's some hard fat, right?
There's
some
hard
chunky
fats too. There's dude. Like when you're breaking down a whole animal, this is totally different. But like as you can see, this fat
the bubble gum,
soft and bubblegummy.
Yep.
And this fat over here is a little bit harder.
Yeah. So you want to take.
Still gonna melt though. This is still gonna be a good
that
fat.
off. If I see that right now, I'm gonna cut that a little bit.
Is that because your doctor said you were overweight?
Yeah. No, my chart said I was overweight, bro. I was just going through my chart a few weeks ago and it said overweight. What? Dang, how am I overweight?
But I'm eating the good fat, doc.
Dude, they don't know. They don't know what they're talking about.
So yeah, there's the Bavette, dude. I'm gonna portion this up like that. There's gonna be probably 6-7 ounce portions for people to take home.
Yep.
Super hot grill. You can do tons of different stuff with it.
Yep.
But make sure you slice against the grain. It's gonna be crazy tender, super flavorful.
Yeah, dude.
I love a Bavette.
I love it. It's like a big skirt steak to me. I cook it, and sometimes it can be deceivingly thick in the middle, and that's perfect because it's almost like pull apart when I start to cut that thing.
Also,
man.
one of those things too that you can consider for households like such as mine. If I were to go home to my parents' house and cook for my parents and my sister, and her kids, because they eat well done fucking beef.
Oh God,
like dipshits.
Fucking embarrassing, guys.
The way this muscle dissipates, it's very fat at the top, and it kind of leans out a little bit thinner.
Totally,
so it's almost like you could, like a flat iron or something. You can cook the end of it a little bit more.
Yeah.
This guy's gonna stay
nice medium rare.
Mid-rare, medium. Yeah.
Dude.
So it's very versatile.
The Bavette, dude. Super versatile and should be in most butcher cases. I would definitely look for it. Give it a shot, man.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's going to be at a good price point, too. It's not going to be at the price point of a New York or a ribeye.
No, it's definitely not.
So that's why. And get the Wagyu Bavette. Oh, baby.
Yep. Let's go.
Okay, Chef Tyler, before we ask you what you ate this week, I got to remind y'all to join the conversation on The Meat Fam on Facebook. That's our Facebook group, okay? We're starting this conversation. We're dropping all the topics in there. We want to hear your input before we go on and shoot the next podcast. So go and try to get on The Meat Fam on Facebook. I'll approve you once
talk a little shit if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep it respectful, but, talk a little bit of shit. No, it's going to be all Wagyu people, man. Like all these people, I want to know topics. I want to hear from ranchers. I want to hear from people who love Wagyu, the consumers. We want to start that big conversation so we can really stay up on what topics we need to cover. So,
you think Cal Raleigh's going to drop on there?
He might, man. We're still waiting for him. Still waiting. He's coming in, man. He's coming to grab his meat. All right, Chef Tyler, what did you eat this week?
Well, as much as I tell you about eating beef and Wagyu beef every fucking week, because I do.
Yep.
I ate the nicest pork chop.
Okay.
And I put the Gogi Goo on there.
Gogi Guru.
Gogi
Guru rub. I like it.
And the pork chops that we get from...
Dude.
Bro.
I know.
They're insane.
I know.
And I don't talk about that all the time. Like,
well, it's not as sexy.
But
it's good.
Chuck end pork chop.
Yeah.
Double cut. It's almost like it's the ribeye of a pork chop, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That shit is luscious,
dude.
And I grilled it up, gave it some good char. Got to keep an eye on that shit too, because that fat cap.
Yeah.
Watch out.
It'll
go. Light on fire.
It's like Wagyu, man.
It is, dude. It's unbelievable. It was delightful.
Dude, talking about pork, man. I know. I wish we could sell more pork in that case because we have the best pork in the whole state of Washington. Like, it's fucking amazing.
It's bonkers good.
But it's just like when it sits next to all these crazy Wagyu steaks, it just doesn't sell like it should. So, but
true.
But still, come on in, grab some pork. We love it. So, what did I eat this week? Thanks for asking. I ate.
Hold on. So what did you eat this week, bro?
Well, thank you. Man,
or what did your daughter eat?
My daughter's a meat
week?
freak, dude. She is a steak freak. She's 4 years old, and I'm not even exaggerating. She eats so much steak. I have to cook steak for her like 3 to 4 times a week. And when we don't cook steak, she's upset. She's just trying to choke down and just eat this chicken. And like she barely eats anything for dinner,
She's 4 and she's like, this pasta's bullshit.
Yeah, dude, we'll give her the protein pasta. She'll eat that. She'll eat applesauce. She'll eat scoops of peanut butter, peanut butter sandwiches. But when we cook steak, dude, it's fucking game over. So we cooked this. I'm going to put it on the Meat Fam on Facebook, man. We cooked this probably 2.75 pound bone-in ribeye.
I know which one it was. I cut it.
Yep. And I reverse seared it, and it was probably one of the best cooks I've ever had on a bone-in ribeye. I freaking nailed it.
Can I just tell you how proud I am
dude,
of you that you've come so far.
I nailed it, man.
You've come so far,
dude. I've been cooking meat for a good while now, man. Every night, but. 2.75 pounds. We ate the whole thing, dude. There was no meat left on this thing. And I eat a lot of meat, like I'm not gonna bullshit, but I don't eat 2.75 pounds of meat in one sitting. Like that's a lot. She probably ate about 10 ounces.
Hold up. How much does that little turkey weigh? She must weigh like what, 30?
Probably 40 pounds.
40 pounds?
Yeah.
She could eat her body weight.
She could, dude. So I sliced this thing. I was cutting up big slices, and I'm cutting them for her, in these little bite-sized pieces. And I put like 3 big slices on her plate, cut it up. She eats the whole thing, and I'm like, she's like, Daddy, more steak. I'm like, okay. So I give her another slice, cut it all up. She asks me 3 more times, more steak. Dude,
Brody.
She ate so much, maybe close to like 12 ounces. Dude,
that's a lot.
Awesome. It was awesome.
And it's a ribeye.
Man. And it's a ribeye, dude.
That's a rich bite, bro.
Yeah. She don't care, man. So we ate that whole thing. Like, I don't think, like she ate more than my 18-year-old son, man.
She's a future fucking Wagyu cattle rancher.
Oh, dude, she is. She's got the Wagyu.
Well, we know it's not your son.
Yeah, he's not doing that. No. She eats more. So I also cooked up some salmon for my wife. So there's 2 pieces of salmon. So he took the other piece of salmon, and me and the 4-year-old ate the whole fucking bone and ribeye.
Crushed it.
So Yeah, I was pretty excited, man. I felt really good about that.
I love these. These are some of my favorite stories when I get back from my day off and get to hear about your daughter pounding. She like a 10-ounce Sabaton, bro.
Dude, she does it. It's cool, man. So she's being raised right. Just want everybody to know that. But yeah, we cooked up this beautiful bone-in ribeye, nailed it, and ate the whole thing. We were even eating like right off the bone. There's the rib right off the bone. Like I was cutting around all the fat, dude, and we crushed it.
Can we pop into that real quick?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
God damn it.
We got to talk about this.
All right, so I get full ribeye primals in.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Full ribeye primals in. And I'll do, there's seven bones on a ribeye primal. Mm-hmm. And I'll do, depending on what's in the case, I'll do 2 to 3 big fatty bone-in ribeyes. And then I take the back ribs off, and I do boneless ribeyes to put in the case.
Yeah.
And I've tried so many times to sell the motherfucking back ribs, and they don't sell. I'm trying to, like, it's like the baby back of beef, man.
Oh my God.
Like, what is wrong?
I know.
God, dude. So you can do so many things with the back ribs, and they're fucking delicious.
Dude, I gotta be honest. I know you've been telling me that for so long, and I've been championing it, but I've never had it.
Yeah.
Dude, because like I don't know why it just doesn't look as appealing. It doesn't look like there's that much meat on the bone. But when I had that bone-in ribeye, we were stripping that meat off, and I was like, "Oh fuck, dude,
Bro.
This is so good! Like, why haven't I been doing this,
bro? It's so good."
Yeah, you're right, dude. So the beef baby backs,
it bums me out.
I know. Because we don't really get rid of them.
They're so versatile too. Because you could fry them, glaze them, sticky, chewy ribs. You could put them into like a hot pot. You could put them into like a sweet and sour soup. You could put them into like a pozole.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
But so when I'm thinking ribs, like when I'm cooking pork ribs, and you got to cook that up to, you got to get that up to what, 190, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, totally. I mean, we're talking about cooking this beef rib to where you're gonna like.
But I just reverse seared it, and it was like that. So I cooked it to 129, and reverse seared it,
peeled right off the bone,
and it peeled up, and I was like, I'm eating rib meat. It tasted so freaking good, dude. Yep. I wish I had more. But.
So now we get into rib finger meat. We can talk about that later, but that's when you break down all the rib meat and leave the bones on like a crown roast of a rib roast, right?
The crown roast, yeah.
Right.
Those
so
are
then
sexy.
the rib finger meat, that's also
that should be next week's, dude.
Money.
Let's do that. Let's do the know your
finger
cut.
meat. Okay,
finger meat.
Sure.
Finger meat next week. All right.
Finger meat.
Yeah, we got to be careful with the verbiage on that.
Okay.
All right.
It's a term. It's a real term.
It's time for the hot take, Chef Tyler.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this one is sort of a flex for us, but I truly believe it. So here it is. Wagyu burgers are a scam unless you grind in-house and know the source. Ooh, how you feel about that?
You know how I feel about it.
I mean, dude,
it is a flex, dude, because that's what I do, right?
It is.
And we talked about it previously. I do Wagyu burgers every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I specifically order the cuts that I want to use.
Yeah.
And I break the grind down personally myself.
Yeah.
And grind the burgers, patty the burgers, smoke the burgers, reverse sear the burgers.
Yep.
Do the whole thing. I know the ranches that the burger comes from.
Know the source.
Everything.
Yeah.
So when you're going into a restaurant and they're like, "Yeah, we got Wagyu burgers," like they have no idea.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Like and maybe, I'll even cut them a break if you don't house grind it, but you know the source.
Sure.
And it's a good source, and it's
a
qualified source.
You don't have to house grind. As long as you know where it's coming from, you don't have to.
Yeah. But I do think that they are a scam if they're like, yeah, it's Wagyu. It's a Wagyu burger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, dude. Tell me where it's from. Tell me where it's from. Not to be pretentious, but tell me where it's from.
For sure.
And if I go into any restaurant from now on, I'm totally asking that.
That's like what we hang our hat on, right?
Yeah, it is.
Because we know all of our ranches, and we know all of our people, we know all of our purveyors, and we know their stories.
Yeah, but it goes back to...
Did you hear that, Jim?
Jesus, that damn crow is back. But it goes back to the original conversation, is Wagyu beef a marketing scam? And if you know your source, I don't think it is.
It's not.
Yeah, if
Nope.
you know your source.
It's
And it's a
definitely
qualified source.
100% not.
Yeah. So, yeah, they can be a scam, but know your source, man. Come prepared.
Know where
Just
your
like Sierra comes prepared to work every day.
Booyaka.
I love it. Real Restaurant Podcast, man. People coming in and out. Let's go. All right. Let's finish this with a nice comment of the week.
What is the comment?
So, we get a lot of negative comments and had to filter through some of those, but, we got a nice one. And I was just like, we get nice ones, obviously, but this was from a new person, so I wanted to read it. And he wanted to remind everybody that Wagyu cooks faster than you think because the fat is more forgiving. From Thomas, is it Remele or Remio? It's Remmele custom beef. Remele. So he's right. It does cook faster than you think, and I think that's a good point. The fat is more forgiving. The fat's more delicate, really. And
Well, it also melts at such a higher, a faster melting point.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're getting like, say, just like a choice ribeye versus a purebred, even an F1 cross ribeye.
yeah,
Right. Because the intermuscular marbling and the fat melts at such a faster pace than, say, the choice. The choice is going to take probably, I'd say, 8 to 10 minutes longer, probably.
Really?
Honestly, yeah, really. Dude.
Wow.
I think so.
Wow, is that okay? I mean, it's because the fat is different. The fat melts at a lower boiling point, and it is delicate. I don't know if it's more forgiving, but it's more delicate for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't say forgiving, maybe not the right term.
Yeah, but I like it's a good reminder to you keep an eye on it. Like that's my whole thing. Like when I talked about, I did a video on how to grill Wagyu beef, and what I should have said is just keep a fucking eye on it the whole time because it's gonna flame up. You gotta flip it. You gotta put it higher.
You're gonna light your condo on fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't burn down the pergola.
Yeah, man, you got to be careful, man. And don't grill it on gas. But yeah, it does cook faster than you think, and hopefully people can recognize that, keep an eye on it, and then they don't overcook it, and they don't have a bad experience and go, man, I paid $90 for the steak, and I cooked it to medium. It's still good. Or I cooked it to medium well. It's still good. That's the great thing about Wagyu.
You know what's funny is when I do it on a cast iron pan, and this is probably something that maybe a listener can understand a little bit more about the differentiation. You pan sear let's just say choice Angus ribeye, and you get those brown, crusty, hard bits left in your pan.
Yeah.
And you gotta scrape them out of there.
Yeah.
When you pan sear F1 or higher, you have fat left in the pan.
Yeah.
And probably some goody little bits, but all that fat, dude, just like take that steak out, start roasting your potatoes in it and shit.
Man.
Like, that's kind of the whole. There's different protein structure, and that's why the genetics of the DNA of the Wagyu is so much better.
Well, how do you store that fat? Like, you are gonna save it, You
ever have your grandma cook bacon on a Sunday, and either pour it in a glass jar, or an old pickle jar or something, and leave it under the sink until it was full, and then she'd throw it away?
Yeah.
Do that same shit, but pop it in the fridge, man. Like, hold it just like that.
Save your fat.
And take a little spoonful of it, roast some carrots, do whatever you're doing with that. That shit's golden.
I know. We'll do something.
It's also
on
good
tallow.
for you.
Yeah. I know.
We talk about it all the time.
We gotta be careful with that. It is healthier for you. But, there are still more studies that need to come out. Like, I'll agree with that, man. We talked to, that's a good segue. We did talk to Andrew Shirley of River Valley Wagyu in Chehalis, Washington, grass-fed, full-blood Wagyu farmer. He's going to be coming up next for the whole interview. And, he brings us some studies, a lot of these peer-reviewed studies, talks about a lot of them coming out of Korea.
He sent us some knowledge.
Yeah, coming out of, Texas A&M, obviously. And so there's a lot of stuff that's being tested and peer reviewed. It still hasn't made it to the main, show yet. So we talk about it a lot. We're seeing a lot of different studies, but we do want to be a little bit tender with it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've heard.
You know what I'm saying?
Heard, chef.
hey, I just, God, you see all these people online that are just saying shit.
They get so pissed.
Fuck,
man.
like, shut up. No, it's not a fucking diseased cow.
Go TikTok yourself.
Dog, man, this is fucking crazy.
You know what? I can't wait till Andrew, Shirley, and I are good enough friends where I can just call him Shirley.
Shirley.
Yeah, I'll be like,
Shirley. He is, man.
He's a good dude.
He's dope. He's dope, man. He's really cool. He's fairly new to raising Wagyu cattle, but he's got a really interesting take. So stick around, and because that grass-fed beef that he had, man, was outstanding. I know you didn't get any. I know I stole it.
You stole the fucking ribeye,
dude.
dog.
I did. I took it home.
God,
I made a video, made it for content.
Hashtag dick move.
So good. I was like, yeah, dude, I could eat this. And I love it how he talks about it as it being, something different to throw into your rotation. So like, hey, I really like this full blood ribeye. I want to have that. It tastes so good. And then I also want to have this grass-fed ribeye.
Right.
It's for a different day of the week. It's in the meat rotation, and it's going to give you different nutrients. It's going to make you feel different. So I thought that was a really cool take.
I really like where his head is, honestly.
Yeah, you said that.
I did, but you decided not to record. You fucked up.
Yeah, we did not record.
I like where his head is because he's all about regenerative farming.
Yes, man.
And moving the herd and grass-fed, and he's being very fiscally conscious of what it takes to raise these animals, and what he's doing to his land and. Dude, everything.
Yeah, the regenerative.
I really dig the way he's steering his little ranch.
I do too, man. And regenerative farming is something we really want to get into. There's a lot of great information out there. He sent us a lot of stuff. I don't know if you've watched the Carbon Cowboys. All those guys have been doing it for a while, man. And the whole Will Harris out of Georgia, White Oak Pastures. So there's some really cool stuff there, man. It's definitely up and coming and on the move. It's hard to do, but I think when your head's in the right spot, you're gonna get something good out of it. So stick around, listen to that interview with Andrew Shirley of River Valley Wagyu, man, and let's sign it off.
My guy Shirley.
Welcome back to the Meat Dudes. I'm Evan.
I'm Tyler.
Awesome. And today, so we are joined by Andrew Shirley from River Valley Wagyu, and it's right outside Chehalis, Washington. And he's doing something kind of rare, man. He's doing grass-fed Wagyu, only grass-fed, raised regeneratively right here in the Northwest, man. How you doing, Andrew?
Doing well, guys. Doing well. Appreciate the time and the opportunity to come and share what we got going on out here.
Yeah, man. And we had a previous conversation when you stopped by the restaurant, dropped off some beef, and we were really impressed with you and your beef, and we knew we wanted to have you on the podcast, man. So we're excited to talk about grass-fed, talk about Wagyu fat, how the fat is different, and man, get this thing going, dude. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here we go. So I'm gonna tease a couple questions, and we're gonna get into all this. So when people think of grass-fed, they want to know: can grass-fed Wagyu be ultra marbled? Is it healthier? And how does it stack up flavor-wise, man? So we're gonna get into all of that stuff. But first, real quickly, man, how'd you start River Valley Wagyu, and how'd you get into that cattle business?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, luckily had the opportunity to sell my former business and get to move to Washington State. We were living in Arizona, and we were looking for water, trees, and grass again because my wife does flowers and she's got a flower farm. And so when we started looking around the country, looking at what made sense, and ended up finding a place up here. Actually just sold everything, moved up. First started out in Oregon, couldn't find anything, finally found something up here and called this place home. And once we did that, I knew then from my previous experience with, Wagyu beef on a consumer side that I really wanted to produce that same product. And then when I started to research the possibilities I could do with it, not only just for, taste and consumption, the nutritional and other benefits, that's when I really kind of delved into it and went in the way I did.
That's cool, man. I love it, and we're going to get into that. So why grass-fed specifically? So your Wagyu and your grass fed. So when I think of grass fed, I think of very meat heavy, nutrient dense, not a lot of fat, sometimes no fat. And then when I think Wagyu, I'm thinking beautiful intermuscular marbling. So is this kind of the trick, man, putting both of those together? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so that's kind of the idea I had, was like, let's see if we can take this breed that's so genetically predisposed for intermuscular fat and marbling, and let's see if I do a completely grass forage based diet, would that still yield a palatable result? And it took a couple years to get to a final product, and then we finally had our first round this last December, and we're pretty happy with the results. We saw a really good baseline, and I think it kind of shows overall what the actual potential that is within this breed, specifically because of that genetic predisposition.
Yeah, definitely, man. Cows eat grass, so when we say grass fed, you're talking about grass finished, because most of the nice cattle, like we work with a lot of farms, and they're 85% pasture raised, and then they're finished on some sort of local grain. And that gives, especially the Wagyu, and in all cattle, right, it gives it that extra push, that extra fat, that extra intermuscular fat to really bulk it up. So you're talking about all they eat is grass. There's no finish, right? So are they just out on pasture? And how does that stack up, man? Like what kind of marbling are you getting for those Wagyu cows?
Yeah, so obviously, I don't think, and it's a goal to hopefully maybe be comparable to something like that. I don't know if that goal is actually really possible. But I think the baseline results show that we can get incrementally close, and actually significantly close in some respects, to that stuff. I don't think we'll ever be as marbled as that, but that's okay, because we're a different product, for a different day of the week. It's not nothing against anything. We love both. I eat both. It's just a matter of, maybe today I'll have this and tomorrow I'll have that. So, and I think a lot of it has to do with what we're doing, is like the feeding the grass is, obviously everybody has that during the summer months, but during the winter months, is making sure that we get them the best hay possible and keeping it year round. And so, I don't know everything. I don't know much of anything, truthfully, about about this business and animals. I only know what I've learned and what I've read. But what I've seen from my experience is that, giving them roughage and hay all year round somehow happens to allow that fat to develop along with their foraging, and also allow that fat to kind of color up in a nice, palatable way.
Yeah, that's what Chef Tyler and I just noticed.
From the grass fed?
Say that again?
Do you get that nice kind of creamy yellow fat from all the grass fed, or do you see that nice white striation in between the intermuscular fat?
That's what was really kind of one of my first thoughts, is going into it, like, what color would it be? And I was actually super surprised to see that for the most part, it came out really white, which was really surprising to me, because I didn't anticipate that from my own past consumption and research. Like, I really didn't think that was possible. And I think, some of the studies and things I've read have kind of linked back to the fact that, when they're eating grass, that all that grass is green, right? And it has chlorophyll. And so if you just continue to mix in that hay and roughage throughout their feed the whole lifetime, all year round, you kind of dilute that amount of chlorophyll that goes into the fat that makes it yellow. And so that's kind of what I've been trying to do, is, see, they don't eat it as much in the summer, but they will eat it. And so it's like, trying to mix that in and see if that comes with the result. And in the first round, that's what we saw.
Nice, dude. So, like, people like Wagyu beef because of the marbling, right? That's what it's well known for, right? Oh, I want a super marbled steak. I'm gonna go get some Wagyu. So with grass, why did you choose to do grass here and maybe not be able to hit that high marbling? Like, what's the demographic? What's the pros to that?
Yeah, so like I said, it's just a difference of what to have for today versus tomorrow, and it was more based on trying to achieve that nutritional density and benefit that grass fed has always had, right? And then make that super palatable. And so, getting into that, we start to look at, what is the potential for this fat? Can we make this fat more nutrient beneficial than harmful? Because that's what a lot of beef over time has had, the bad stigma of is, too much fat is bad for your heart and all these different elements and things. And, the studies that have come out in the recent, I'd say last 20 years or so, have shown that actually we can pack this fat with a lot of nutrient density. We can make it have high concentrations of omega 3s and omega 6s. So even to the point where we might be able to surpass that of salmon. So it's like let's see if we can't achieve some similar goal. So we're looking for someone who wants to enjoy that palatability and fat of a Wagyu, but at the same time, maybe they're wanting today to have a little more nutritional density in that meat versus something else.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'll say, when I ate that grass fed ribeye that you gave me, I was like, wow, man, like this is great. Like, my first thought was, okay, it's not quite as marbled as some of the stuff that I'm eating, but I know it's going to be different. I know it's all grass fed, and it tasted amazing. So I was blown away at first. I was like, wow, this, you're not bullshit, man. Like it tastes like Wagyu beef. Doesn't, we just had a really nice ultra marbled steak from Vermont Wagyu that she sent us up here. This ribeye, and that was super marbled. It was delicious. It was amazing. And yours is different than that, right? That so you're gonna get. Hers almost looked like A5, but this is different. It's for a different consumer, and like you said, like maybe it's for a different day of the week. And that's the first thing that I thought when I ate it. I was like, dude, I'd eat this at least once a week. Like this is really, really good. And I don't know, it felt different, maybe it was in my head when I put it on the grill. I smelled something different. I was like, "Ooh, I can smell the grass." Like maybe it was in my head, but it was a really interesting to eat. And when I ate that rib cap, brother, like I was like, you know what? That ain't no bullshit. That tastes just like Wagyu beef, like some good Wagyu beef. So
also, I'm the ribeye guy, so I'm gonna need another one because Evan snatched that up and took it home before I could chase him out to his car.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, I had to, man. I had to. Oh no, but just saying, like it was good, and maybe it was for, like I said, a different day of the week and a different demographic. And you talk about these studies coming out. Where are these studies? You sent us a bunch of studies, so where are they coming out of? I know they're all peer reviewed and everything like that, but where is the bulk of that stuff coming out of?
Yeah, so a lot of it's coming out of Korea. Some is coming out of Australia as well. And then obviously in the United States, Dr. Smith, I believe it is, who's currently at Texas A&M, he's done a lot of studies, and I think he's actually probably the foremost leading researcher on beef fat in the United States. And what kind of caught my eye was, and I don't know if I got this one over to you, was an article recapping his speech to the American Wagyu Association back in 2016. And he was speaking about the same things, about the potentials of this fat and like what, could potentially be utilized, the real opportunities there. And so, coming across that and then starting to come and read these studies from like the Korean, universities talking about the different fatty acid profiles and how we can, and they're testing with Hanwoo beef and American and Australian crossbred cattle and Wagyu. It really opened my eyes to like the real potential.
Yeah. Yeah. So we understand that there's a lot of studies on Wagyu beef and how that fat is healthier. It's got more, omegas than sometimes even salmon. You'll read that, sometimes the olive oil. But this, we're talking about grass fed Wagyu beef. So what, put both of those together, and is that make it even more healthier? Get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like the different types of fatty acids, right? So like there's in the monosaturated fatty acids, you have your oleic and solic fatty acids. I'm probably saying both of those wrong, and your saturated fatty acids. And so from what I've understood, the concentration and ratio of those when you're doing grass fed is significantly higher. In many cases, your concentration of beneficial fatty acids is 5 times higher in grass fed versus other methods. So, yeah, so it's really phenomenal to see, like, what kind of difference you can see in the actual overall makeup of the fatty acid chains that are in that fat.
Yeah, dude. I mean, woo. It could be crazy, man. Could be a new thing, dude. Like if you I guess the demographic that would need something like that, explain the demographic a little bit. Who are you targeting? Because like I said, a lot of Wagyu beef consumers are like, give me the highest marbled, crazy stuff. But there's a lot of people out there that just want to eat really nutrient dense things as well. Not saying that other Wagyu doesn't have that, but what about what type of demographic are you really targeting with your beef?
Yeah, so I mean, we're looking for someone who, is really taking a lot of time and care into understanding exactly, what they're consuming and trying to use that as a decision, for what they're buying, right? And so, ultimately, I grew this in the way that I would eat it for myself and my family. I wouldn't put anything on a plate that, and I don't think any rancher would, that they didn't think would be good for them or others. And so, I think, our thought was, let's put something out there that I know I can comfortably eat every day of the week, as well as, others could as well. And so, yeah, I think the demographics, just anyone who's looking to eat, some nutrient dense beef on a given daily or bi-daily basis.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a new trend right now in beef. Period. It kind of reminds me of almost like when the organic label came out in vegetables years and years and years ago, and some people were just sworn on like, oh, I'm only going to eat organic vegetables, and I see that in grass-fed beef right now. Honestly, there's so many people that there's not a ton of our clients that come in to buy beef and ask specifically for grass-fed, but there is a percentage that do. And I think that, the commonwealth of people kind of really paying attention to what they're putting on their plate is really starting to pay attention to that label. And I think that what you're doing and the whole grass-fed movement, I think, is nutritionally, I don't know if I want to say it's better. I don't want to say if it's, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely a trend right now, and people are getting very interested about really, really knowing where their meat comes from and how it's grown and all that stuff. And that's really what we try to do. Mm-hmm. A lot of the education of the meat dudes and our meat counter and all that stuff is more or less like education, so people can really understand what we're talking about and how you guys and all these other ranchers are humanely growing these most beautiful animals that they have.
Yeah, and I think
for sure. And
goes to yes, it goes back to like going to that consumer is like also, someone who is environmentally conscious as well. And I think that's another element that's really unique with our beef is the fact that, we put such an emphasis on regenerative ranching, with amp grazing and hopefully starting to work in new species so that way we can be, fully regenerative, if you will. And, with amp grazing, we're able to, really start to bring environmental benefits to ranching, which many people have seen as a negative over time.
Yes. What is amp grazing?
Yeah, so it's adaptive multi-paddock grazing. So basically what that is we're taking what herds would naturally do, bison herds, cattle herds, if they were wild animals originally, not here because they were domesticated, but bison would do, and they would come through a field or a pasture, they would graze through it, they would leave, go to the next, and then eventually return back and come back through it. And in that process, they wouldn't eat every blade of grass that was in that field. They would only eat a portion of it, right? But they would leave, their fecal matter and urine and things. And all that creates life and microbes for the soil, right? As they stomp it into the ground and as it starts to break down and as, grass is there and it breaks down. So with amp grazing, we're basically mimicking that same natural cycle, but in smaller form. So basically, I'm able to utilize more land, have a higher stocking density, and capture a lot of carbon into the soil at the same time as growing the life in my soil. So basically, every day we'll move the cattle, or every couple of days, an acre every day or every couple of days, each day. And by doing so, it takes 8 days for grass to grow back. So by the time we get back to the 8th acre, that grass has already regenerated itself. And so we're able to go and regraze that same part, which, is really phenomenal. I mean, from a business case perspective, it adds a ton of value as well as environmentally.
Yeah. That's a huge thing right now is regenerative farming. And not like it's not a trend, but we're starting to see it a little bit more, and it's hard to do, right? Like you gotta do things differently. You gotta have different equipment, different mindset. And you talk about you want to have a bunch of different animals on the farm, right? Do you currently have only cattle, or what do you have right now?
So we have cattle and chickens right now, and then the goal would be to incorporate sheep or other species, pigs as well. So that way, we can do the full cycle of animals where it's like, sheep, cattle, then chicken, and then kind of rerun that again, because each one drops something beneficial and nutrient dense to the land, as well as their jobs are different, because the sheep won't graze as hard as the cattle. The cattle will graze hard. The chickens won't, but the chickens will scratch the manure as well as leave their own manure on the field. So everybody has a job in this cycle, right? And microbes in the soil are one of the key elements. And so it's like, how do we grow those microbes in the soil? So, I like to joke, I'm not really a rancher, and I'm just a grass farmer who has cows. So
Right.
that's my goal, at least.
Yeah, man. No, you sent me all that stuff about the Carbon Cowboys. I've been listening to a lot of those stories, and it really is interesting about how that whole regenerative farming is basically the best thing that you can do for the land, for the earth, for climate change. And it's got some really great arguments on how having all those animals together, just creating the actual nature cycle on your farm, can do great things, like I said, for the earth, and also give you amazing nutrient dense food. I commend you for doing that, man. I think it's a great thing. I think we could do a whole series of podcasts on regenerative farming, man. But I really, really want to stick on this, grass fed and Wagyu, because it still is, to me, man, it's like such a trip to see your beef, how it was so pretty nicely marbled, and super nutrient dense, and just tasted amazing, and it was only grass. So like, you said through the winter time, obviously you're in Washington, so they can't say on grass. I did want to ask you, since we're on grass fed, I forgot, I wanted to bring this up. We see that all over. When Tyler was talking about trends, we see that all over the place. What are some bad grass fed I mean, not practices, but what are some cheater ways to do things? Because I feel like we see grass fed all the time, and it's like, are they really? How does that work? What does it take to be grass fed? And then this goes back to knowing your source, right? We know that we can see your farm right now. We know they're actually eating grass, but how do people get away with saying grass fed when it's not? When we're talking about those meat labels,
we know there's some technicalities with that because we've been told by other people that if you grow corn, and feed your cattle corn that's still on the husk, that's technically still a grass.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Yep. So that there's things like that. And then there's also other, I think you can, if people put out different additives and things, like pouring out, molasses or whatever, I guess that could be some other ways of doing it. But I think the one you spoke about is the one I've heard the most, is like, when someone told me that one day, I was like, how does that work? Like, how are we able to call that grass fed and yet we're still feeding grain? I don't really understand that. So yeah, through the winter, my thing is, and it cost me a little more, but to be honest, and that's what the other element of this whole grass fed thing is like, as a rancher, for the business case is almost equally or more compelling than the other cases. And so, like, through the winter, I do spend good money, but I spend good money on the best hay I could find. So best orchard grass, best alfalfa, a little mix of both. And that way we can, make sure that they have the best, most nutrient dense grass all year around. But yeah, I don't know, since I don't do that, it's kind of hard to think of the different ways, and I haven't been in this business too long. So, I know that's the big one, but I don't know too many other ways people kind of work the circle.
Okay. No worries, man. So we know the most, cattle get slaughtered, in the commercial realm here, get slaughtered 14 to 18 months.
Yeah.
A lot of Wagyu's around 30 months, but where does yours kind of fall? Because you're not like finishing, you're just basically, that's how you do it, right? They're on pasture for X number of days, and that's it. So where your kind of fall? Where do you harvest?
Yeah, so and I guess that's the other way people can kind of get around it, is they start on grass and don't finish.
Mm-hmm.
Our first one, we took one that was probably right under 30 months. Then we took another that was over 30 months. And as you guys know or may know, is like, once you get over 30 months, you can't use the bones and the spine bones anymore, rib bones. So, that kind of creates a challenge there in a way of offerings. So my goal would be to be around the 28-month mark. That's where I really want to be. I think realistically, from what I've seen others do, it may be 30-month plus. It's still a learning process for me.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler, does that mean you can't use the hanger steak off of the 30 months?
No, hanger is off of that table, but it's the porterhouse, oxtail, tongue. There's definitely probably some neck pieces too.
What about cheeks?
I don't think cheeks.
It was mostly like bone stuff or nervous tissue stuff that can harbor some organ.
Spinal cord. Central nervous system attachment.
Because of mad cow disease, right? So 30 plus months. Yeah. So that is a crazy thing for Wagyu ranchers that have to kind of deal with that and cut their beef differently, offer different things, like you said. But you can get up to, if you do it at 28 months, do you feel like you can get up to the marbling that you like?
Yeah, I think so. I think cows are no different than us in a way that, like, if they lay around and eat a bunch of food, they'll gain fat. It's not,
they get chubby.
Exactly. So, and that's, the other cool part about this amp grazing is, like, they don't have to walk far for water. They don't have to walk far for food because they're right there on it. And also they don't get to go far. Right. And so, like, they don't spend a lot of energy building muscles to walk here, there, everywhere. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's how we're going to really be able to achieve, those kind of results is with this method, because, they're not turning all that fat into actual muscle mass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andrew, let me ask you a funny question. What's the demeanor of your cattle? Are they gentle, docile, beautiful beings?
Yeah, they are definitely all of that and above. They're just hanging out, doing their thing, eating, grazing, walking, doing the deal. But yeah, I'm out here with them right now, so they're pretty calm.
Right. That's kind of the resonating tone and question I like to ask Wagyu ranchers, because some of them are they're like pets,
Yeah.
Like so nice and follow you around and whatever. So it's just interesting to me.
I know.
Growing up in Montana and like being around Angus branches and whatever. Some of those buggers are nasty.
Mm-hmm.
It will like charge you in the pen when you're throwing hay in there and stuff. And from what I've heard, the Wagyu breed is just such a nice animal.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another benefit, and why I chose this species is the feasibility and easeability of ranching this species, or breed rather, is, they are docile, they're very calm. I mean, don't get me wrong, they'll get riled up for food any day of the week, but even then they still calm down. So it's, and also like the calving process with these, from what I've heard, I haven't experienced that yet, that we're hoping to go through that process here soon, is that, they're much easier at calving. So it's not they don't have trouble. And so, yeah, they do have smaller calves, but at the same benefit, you don't have loss of the mother or loss of the calf at such a high rate, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. And you are raising, I don't think we talked about this, but you are raising full blood Wagyu cattle.
Yep, absolutely. Full blood. Yep. High top.
Where'd you get your genetics from?
Yeah, so I got it from a local gentleman, and he has a herd of like 200, and he got his from, different places, from Bar R, I think Lone Mountain, and some other folks where he's gotten bulls and heifers from, and he's been doing it for 10 plus years. And I happened to get introduced to him from another gentleman who does full blood Wagyu here in the Olympia area. And so when I met with him, he said, "Hey, this is the guy you need to go talk to." And so sat down with him. He showed me, the registrations, the bloodlines and things. And it was like, oh, wow, there's a lot more to this than this is a Wagyu cow and that's a Wagyu cow. It's like this Wagyu cow has, Shigatani, it has Suzatani, like it has all these different crosses of genetics and names and lines that you got to learn to really understand this breed.
Yeah.
Sugar
time. You got Tyler riled up with that. That's his favorite cow.
My God.
Seems to be everyone's favorite,
A big boy. Oh, man. So Tyler and I are going to go down. We're going to the American Wagyu Association conference in September. We're going to be judging the best Wagyu steak in America. They've got people that are, submitting all their Wagyu steaks. So, to me, I think it's a really cool thing. It's all about flavor and, and texture, and they're all going to be cooked the same. But, when we're talking about this, yours is going to be a little bit different. So do you think there should be maybe a grass-fed category down the road? Do you see that? Because I foresee this being a really big thing. The most marble, we just got something I said from Vermont Wagyu, like that was fucking insane. But like yours should be in a different category because, is there a way to test? I guess what I'm asking is there a way to test for each steak and the nutrients and how healthy the fat is? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so I think, what they do is they take samples like, a couple hundred grams or a couple grams, and then they probably run it through, my guess, a mass spectrometer or something to really kind of break out the different minerals and carbon chains between the omega-3s and omega-6s, right? And so, should there be a new category? Maybe, yeah, I think so. But, I also wonder, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm early into this process, and I'm super optimistic person, and so seeing the baseline I saw made me think, because I know I could do much better than what I did. Makes me think I can get into the mix, not in the top of the mix, more towards maybe the lower middle of the pack. So maybe a dual registration per se, in like its own category, and at the same time competing in the overall, knowing that you're not gonna get to the top, but just seeing where you fall.
Yeah. And that would be interesting to see. We talked about on our last podcast the different levels of prime that are coming out. It would be interesting to see kind of where yours fell on that level, because I mean the one that I saw is definitely in the category of prime. The one that we cooked up was definitely. So is it in the lower levels, the medium, the high levels? I mean, it would be cool to kind of see where that ranged at. I would be really interested in that because of maybe all the other benefits that it has too. So yeah, I don't know. There should be maybe a grass-fed category here, because
I think that would be cool. Yeah. And I think that also would also open up like the opportunity in the market segment for people to explore this method more, because they don't feel the pressure. Because I mean, that's the other element to this, right? As a Wagyu rancher, the word Wagyu has so many preconceived notions, right? Like ultra fatty, ultra this, ultra that, right? Yeah, so like it puts a lot of pressure on ranchers to make sure that they hit those marks, right? And so having a separate category where you can be elite in a different side of the market, might also provide a real opportunity to grow this segment and really create another opportunity for ranchers.
Sure.
Dude, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Because it is made differently for maybe a little bit of a different demographic, like we said. So yeah, man, I'm down for that. And that is a good point that you brought up about the pressure of like creating the most insane. And what's funny though is that I don't think that everyone's really looking for the most insane beef all the time. They want healthy beef. They want to know where it's come from. Some people want grass. Some people don't care. And when we have a crazy piece of marbled beef, some people say, hey, you know what, that's too much for me. Let me go a grade lower. That's and let me find this F1 cross or this lower prime, or however you want to talk about it these days. But there's definitely room in the market for what you're doing. I think there's a lot of people that are interested in the health benefits of grass-fed, solely grass-fed, that maybe like I said, don't need it to be that A5 quality, and want something that tastes good, makes them feel good, and maybe has some better health benefits to it. Once we kind of lock that down, I still think that we need to do so much more research to it. And that's why if we had a different category, maybe there would be opening up a lot more research on that, because that to me would be really, really cool to find out how many more nutrients are in solely grass fed, and what it takes to do that. But like I said, most of our beef that we get is about 80% grass fed, and then finished on some sort of local grain to give it that extra.
And that would be interesting to see too, is like, what is, well, in a lot of the studies they do similar, they did do that, where they started out on a heavy forage diet and then, kind of worked in the grain over time. But, it would be interesting to see, like, if someone does do 80% forage and then does just finish, the last 20%, because I don't know if the studies were that ratioed. I think it was probably more balanced throughout the life of the animal. And so if that impact, if we can still capture those benefits, right, at that same process, and I'm sure we can to a degree, and the question becomes, what's the delta, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. And when we talk about finishing cows, I don't know if for sure, and I'd love to talk to a super expert on this, but it seems like the Wagyu cattle aren't finished the same way maybe Angus are. When I think of finishing Angus cattle and just the commercial cattle, I think of them just like on a dirt, on dirt, just being, force fed everything. When we talk to all of our people, even, Plum Creek Wagyu out in Nebraska finishes on corn. And he's like, yeah, I put it out there, and they go out there and then they'll eat and then they'll come back. And then they're not like force fed. And when we talk about our beef, at Pure Country Farms, it's open feed pen, local barley, really good stuff. And so I feel like Wagyu is finished differently than commercial at the end of the day. And that's why it's, not as stressed and has that high cortisol and everything like that. So I don't know.
think that's an excellent point, actually. And what I hadn't really thought too much about is like, if you Wagyu being finished in that manner or any manner like that, like, it's local ranchers and local farmers that are doing that. And Wagyu, because it's such a specialty breed and it's so, intensive that you can't really do huge herds of it and be super successful, I don't think. So, I think that lends a benefit to like what you're saying, in the sense that you're getting a better finishing quality product that way as well.
Yeah. It's different, man. It's a whole different.
I love both.
Animal.
Can't. Yeah. I mean, it's. I'll eat both on the same day. It doesn't bother me. It's great stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, we have it from all over. Like I said, we got Adam from Plum Creeks sent us over some corn finished, amazing Wagyu we had about 6 months ago. We just got some from Vermont Wagyu, which is pasture raised and finished, on grain that she grows. Outstanding. And like yours, I was like, damn, dude, this is really good too, So, I think it all comes down to that there's such a passion in Wagyu, and it's still small. And that's what we really like about it. It's still small. And the American Wagyu Association is really trying to put the protections on it to give more transparency to the consumer, which is a huge thing, because your grass fed, Andrew, versus some of the grass fed that is at the store, in quotations, is going to be a lot different. Some of it could be good, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know what type of grass. Is it finished on corn stalks? Is it just, is it actually on pasture? Who knows? And so the transparency is the one thing that we're really trying to push. American Wagyu Association is really pushing that, so you can actually, they're going to have their authentic Wagyu label out there that says, hey, this is from River Valley Wagyu. It's grass fed. It's this level prime. But that's just a big thing right now that we need to push. And with Wagyu, like I said, it's all passionate farmers, ranchers that are really out there, doing the work to like get this to the level that it needs to be. And hopefully when it gets to that level and the consumers really jump on it, it doesn't get overtaken by big ag, big money, because
right.
That's the fear.
Because it is special and it needs to continue to be special.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the unique element to this whole thing, is like, because it's so limited in its pool of genetic availability, in a way that kind of lends itself to being more unique in its ability to be controlled, I guess, because there's no like there's thousands of just this type of genetic, right? Like there's so many different types of cross genetics that like you're not going to get that same level of consistency that commercial beef needs, I guess, is my point in that realm. So like, and I think that's the cool part about this, and the ranchers who raise these, is they're always trying to develop new crosses and new genetic makeups that make it unique. And as long as that continues to happen, I think this segment of the beef market has a real chance of maintaining its hold.
Yeah, man. It's kind of like wine, like that's what I'm hoping it kind of gets to, that point where they have such strict regulations in wine. And it's a little bit different, that this from this valley in 2019 versus 2017 is going to be a little bit different. And everybody kind of understands that, man. Yeah, that's okay. We want that. We want that to be a little bit different, because the nature, the terroir was different, and like if it's a warm summer here, man, maybe your beef is going to taste a little bit different, after that hot summer, So I don't know. I feel like I want those regulations, but there could still be just really great people doing really great things under those regulations to keep it small, so we don't just have a bunch of shit Wagyu out there. That's, man, like I keep saying, that's my fear.
Yeah, no, I think those labels will be super helpful in those registrations, and it's just my big question to them is how do we make it economically feasible and viable for the rancher, because there's so many costs in this species alone. Like, how do we make it so it's sustainable to register hundreds of animals, right? And so I think they're still working through all that, and I think they'll come up with a great system and a process. They've already kind of started that, and so I look forward to enrolling and being a part of it and seeing what it can do for my brand too.
Yeah, man. I love it, dude. Well, Andrew, man, where can everybody find you at, man? Where can they look you up?
Yeah, so as of recently, if you want to come buy some beef, you can come find me at the Olympia Farmers Market every Saturday. I'll be there somewhere in that market, so I'm there. Otherwise, come check us out on River Valley Wagyu on Instagram, Facebook, and our website. We hope to start doing some shipping here in the future. That obviously creates some unique challenges, but and then hopefully we'll be working with some other folks to get it out in a broader means, so that way you can have it at a restaurant close to you. If you're in the Chehalis area, you can order it at Jeremy's Farm to Table, pre-order some beef there too. So cool. That's where I'm at, and that's where you can find me, and also here on the ranch. So
dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate it, man. Hey, before we get out of here, man, what's your favorite cut to eat? How do you cook it?
Man, I'd be lying if I didn't say my favorite wasn't the ribeye, and it's hard to not go there. Zebuton's good, but it's just like I'd go ribeye, cast iron, max 4 minutes on each side, 3 really, and we're done.
I love it, man. Well, yeah, man, that ribeye you dropped off here, dude, I'd be eating that too, man. I'd be eating that every week.
Awesome. I'd be eating it too, Andrew.
Fair enough. You need to be eating it. We'll make it happen.
Yeah,
sure.
No, I'm coming out. I got to come down and visit my buddy Eric, and I'll bring him over. He lives in he has 3 daughters and a wife, and they're all vegetarian.
Oh, wow.
So when we get together, we sneak off and we eat.
Fair enough. My wife's
to the ring.
Oh man, I love it, dude. Well, Andrew, this has been awesome, man. We really appreciate you, dude. Like I said, you have great beef, and you're doing some cool stuff out there. Keep it up. Keep us in the loop, man. And I hope that we can cross paths here soon.
Yeah, thanks, gentlemen. I really appreciate the time and consideration and the opportunity to share what grass-fed Wagyu can do, and maybe see how the development goes.
Yeah, dude. If the more studies that come out, man, we got to have you on again after more and more stuff comes out. Just keep talking about it, because it seems like a pretty cool direction.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, Andy.
Man, have a good one.
You too.
Sun.
Yeah, exactly.